With every ounce of heart and might and sweat and soul, we're going to keep making America great again. And then we will indeed keep America great. We will keep it so great. Better than ever before. We're going to keep it better than ever before. And that is why tonight I stand before you to officially launch my campaign for a second term as President of the United States. Thank you.
I'm running for president because America is going through the greatest technological and economic transition in human history, and it's dealing with it in one of the worst ways possible. It's dealing with it by pretending it's not happening.
Hi, I'm Bernie Sanders. I'm running for president, and I'm asking you today to be part of an unprecedented grassroots campaign of 1 million active volunteers in every state in our country.
This is a very significant defeat for Mr. Trump, a historic accomplishment for the Democrats. Even though some House races remain undecided, CNN can now make this projection with a very high degree of confidence based on statistical models that track races that Democrats already have won and analyze the races where they're leading significantly right now. Again, CNN can now project that Democrats will win the majority in the U.S. House of Representatives.
A lot of people are going to be rushing to Iowa, rushing to New Hampshire. You know that the Democrats are already looking ahead to 2020. Do you want to lock down your ticket right now, sir? Will the vice president be your running mate in 2020?
Well, I haven't asked him, but I hope so. Where are you? Mike, will you be my running mate? Stand up, Mike, please. Raise your right hand. No, I'm only kidding. Will you? Thank you. Okay, good. The answer is yes. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Do you have an announcement you'd like to make?
I am running for president of the United States.
Well,
and and I'm very excited about it.
And that is why I stand here today to declare that I am a candidate for President of the United States of America.
My name is Pete Buttigieg. They call me Mayor Pete. I am a proud son of South Bend, Indiana, and I am running for President of the United States.
Charlottesville, Virginia is home to the author of one of the great documents in human history. We know it by heart. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights.
Every person will be able to comment on every topic, but
who is this economy really working for? It's doing great for a thinner and thinner slice at the top. It's doing great for giant.
Senator Warren. Senator Warren. Senator Warren.
Senator Warren.
Training programs doing that. You know, I'm very different than everyone else here on the stage.
Something that sets me apart.
I was an entrepreneur.
I've been raising a black son.
I'm proud to have been the first governor.
I think I'm the only one
to stand up against Donald Trump's heinous Muslim ban.
I hear gunshots in my neighborhood.
I enlisted in the Army National Guard after the Al-Qaeda terror attacks on 9/11.
I'm one of the few candidates in this race with executive experience.
Necesitamos incluir cada persona en nuestra democracia.
La situación ahora es inaceptable.
Y estoy postulando por presidente de los Estados Unidos.
Who here would abolish their private health insurance in favor of a government-run plan? Just a show of hands, start off with.
Why are you defending private insurance?
Say they like their private health insurance, by the way. It should be noted that 100 million Americans, I think we should be the party that keeps what's working and fixes what's broken. I want to move back, if I can, to Congressman Gabbard.
If I were president today, I would sign an executive order that would get rid of Trump's zero-tolerance policy, the Remain in Mexico policy, and the metering policy, and that would go to the root cause of the issue, which is we need a Marshall Plan for Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador so that people can find safety and opportunity at home instead of coming to the United States to seek it.
Wind turbines,
electric vehicles,
green energy,
fossil fuels,
solar and other renewables.
Our existential threat is climate change. We have to confront it before it's too late.
Senator Warren.
climate change.
Yeah, Senator Booker.
Nuclear proliferation and climate change.
Secretary Castro.
Say China and climate change.
And healthcare also has to mean that every woman can make her own decisions about her own body and has access to the care that makes that possible.
The candidate will have 60 seconds to answer, 30 seconds.
Senator
We
Sanders.
need a political revolution.
Repeal that tax bill that benefits the top 1%.
And if we had a value-added tax at even half the European level,
If we turn towards socialism, we run the risk of helping to re-elect the worst president in American history.
There need not be disagreement in the party because, in truth, we want healthy capitalism.
Thank you.
Joe Biden was right when he said it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans 32 years ago.
I'm still holding on to that torch.
If somebody has a younger body, doesn't mean you don't have old ideas.
I would like to speak on the issue of race. Vice President Biden, I do not believe you are a racist, but I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. You know, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Look, everything I've done in my career, I ran because of civil rights. I continue to think we have to make fundamental changes in civil rights.
Because I couldn't get it done. My community is in anguish right now because of an officer-involved shooting. A black man, Eric Logan, killed by a white officer. This will be investigated, and there will be accountability for the officer involved.
But you're the mayor, you should fire the chief if that's the policy and someone died.
People who have health care under Medicare for All will have no premiums, no deductibles, no co-payments, no out-of-pocket expenses. Yes, they will pay more in taxes, but less in health care.
The fact of the matter is that the quickest, fastest way to do it is build on Obamacare.
I would call it Medicare for all who want it.
On day one, we take out our executive order pen and we rescind every damn thing on this issue that Trump has done.
I will release children from cages.
When I see these kids at the border, I see my mom. She was separated from her parents for years during the Holocaust.
To take children from the arms of their parents.
This is collective child abuse.
Actually put them up for adoption.
Families always belong together.
In Colorado, we call that kidnapping. The first thing I would do is make sure that we defeat Donald Trump.
We expose him for the fraud that he is.
He's torn apart the moral fabric of who we are.
That is not reflective of our America and our values, and it's got to end.
Democrats win when we figure out what is right and we get out there and fight for it.
I think Democrats win when we run on real solutions, not impossible promises.
We're on a little more pragmatic.
If we embrace a far-left agenda, they're going to say we're a bunch of crazy socialists. If we embrace a conservative agenda, you know what they're going to do? They're going to say we're a bunch of crazy socialists. So let's just stand up for the right policy.
We need to have a campaign of energy and excitement and of vision.
We are more worried about winning an argument than winning an election.
Folks, we have a choice. We can go down the road that Senator Sanders and Senator Warren want to take us, with bad policies like Medicare for all, free everything, and impossible promises that'll turn off independent voters and get Trump reelected.
Democrats flipped 40 Republican seats in the House, and not one of those 40 Democrats support the policies of our frontrunners at center stage.
I get a little bit tired of Democrats afraid of big ideas.
I don't understand why anybody goes to all the trouble of running for president of the United States just to talk about what we really can't do and shouldn't fight for.
Senator Warren's plan basically that she put out, we would not be able to trade with the United Kingdom. But why do we got to be the party of taking something away from people?
No one is the party.
That's what they're running on. They're running on.
What do you say to Congressman Delaney?
You're wrong.
Bernie, you don't have to yell. Throw your hands up. But you haven't.
You don't know that.
Second of all,
we'll come to you in a second,
I do know it.
Congressman.
I wrote the damn bill.
But you are playing into Donald Trump's hands.
Tonight, if you think any of this wonkiness is going to deal with this dark psychic force of the collectivized hatred that this president is bringing up in this country, then I'm afraid that the Democrats are going to see some very dark days. There is an injustice that continues to form a toxicity underneath the surface, an emotional turbulence that only reparations.
Thank you very much. Senator Sanders.
Medicare for all is comprehensive. It covers all health care needs.
I have a better path. Medicare for America.
I just have a better way to do this.
My plan, Better Care, is fully paid for.
That's the concept of my Medicare for all who want it proposal.
Okay, I hope you'll come back to me this time.
Go ahead.
To happen.
Thank you.
And Washington can't deliver.
Thank you, Mayor.
We can't expect
This is an
Thank you, Congressman. We're going to move on.
anti-private sector
We're going to move on.
This is
Unfortunately, Vice President Biden, you're just simply inaccurate in what you're describing. The cost of doing nothing is far too expensive. I'm going to go back to Vice President Biden. You do nothing to hold the insurance companies to task for what they have been doing to American families.
Kamala Harris said she's not trying to restructure society.
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
She had a police department when she was there that, in fact, was abusing people's rights.
You want to compare records, and frankly, I'm shocked that you do.
It looks like one of us has learned the lessons of the past and one of us hasn't.
Mr. Vice President, there's a saying in my community, you're dipping into the Kool-Aid and you don't even know the flavor.
Mr. Vice President, you didn't answer my question. What did you mean when you said when a woman works outside the home, it's resulting in, quote, the deterioration of family?
Mr. Vice President, you want to be President of the United States, you need to be able to answer the tough questions. I guarantee you, if you're debating Donald Trump, he's not going to let you off the hook.
I love your affection for me. You spend a lot of time with me. And I don't know what math you do in New York. I don't know what math you do anywhere in California, but I tell you, that's a lot of money. This idea is a bunch of malarkey, what we're talking about here. The fact
that puts working people first.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio.
Please be respectful. Please be respectful in the crowd.
I think that folks are making a mistake by not pursuing impeachment.
I just want to make sure whatever we do doesn't end up with an acquittal by Mitch McConnell in the Senate, which it surely would, and then President Trump would be running saying that he had been acquitted by the United States Congress.
When we look back in history at what happened when a president of the United States started acting more like an authoritarian leader than the leader of the free world, the question is what will we have done? And I believe the Congress should do its job.
We have a predator living in the White House.
We can no longer allow a white nationalist to be in the White House.
The first thing that I'm going to do when I'm president is I'm going to Clorox the Oval Office.
Adios to Donald Trump.
Our Democratic primary debate starts right now.
So, President Trump, you've spent the last 2.5 years full-time trying to sow hate and division among us.
We have a white supremacist in the White House.
I remember President Trump scoffed and said he'd like to see me making a deal with Xi Jinping. I'd like to see him making a deal with Xi Jinping.
And he is treating our farmers and our workers like poker chips in one of his bankrupt casinos.
And now, President Trump, you can go back to watching Fox News.
The huge mistake, and one of the big differences between you and me, I never believed what Cheney and Bush said about Iraq.
If she qualifies for Medicaid,
are you forgetting what you said 2 minutes ago?
Are you
forgetting already what you said just 2 minutes ago? He says, well, that was the president. I mean, he wants to take credit for Obama's work, but not have to answer to any questions.
I stand with Barack Obama all 8 years, good, bad, and indifferent. That's where I stand.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
My campaign will now give a freedom dividend of $1,000 a month for an entire year to 10 American families.
You are a vegan since 2014. Should more Americans follow your diet?
First of all, I want to say no. Actually, I want to translate that into Spanish. No.
My plan for health care costs a lot of money. It costs $740 billion. It doesn't cost $30 trillion. How are we going to pay for it?
In the United States of America, we are spending twice as much per capita on health care as the Canadians or any other major country on earth.
This is America.
The problem, Senator Sanders, with that damn bill that you wrote and that Senator Warren backs is that it doesn't trust the American people.
So under my Medicare for All plan, people have the choice of a private plan or a public plan.
The mass shootings are terrible, but they get all the headlines. Children die every day on streets, in neighborhoods, on playgrounds.
Year after year, I had an F rating from the NRA.
So background checks and gun licensing, these are agreed to by overwhelmingly the majority of Americans. I was the first person to come out for gun licensing.
A system right now that cannot tell the difference in the threat posed by a terrorist, a criminal, and a 12-year-old girl is not a system that is keeping us safer.
Never cage another child. Make sure that there is accountability and justice for the 7 lives lost under our care and our custody.
I would, in fact, make sure we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are.
This is the CNN New York Times Democratic presidential debate. I want to welcome our viewers in the United States who determine the president's fate.
Sometimes there are issues that are bigger than politics, and I think that's the case with this impeachment inquiry.
In my judgment, Trump is the most corrupt president in the history of this country.
He has committed crimes in plain sight. And on this issue with Ukraine, he has been selling out our democracy.
I want to give a reality check here to Elizabeth, because no one on this stage wants to protect billionaires. Not even the billionaire wants to protect billionaires. We just have different approaches. Your idea is not the only idea.
You have not specified how you're going to pay for the most expensive plan, Medicare for All. Will you raise taxes on the middle class?
I have made clear what my principles are here, and that is costs will go up for the wealthy and for big corporations, and for hardworking middle-class families, costs will go down.
A yes or no question that didn't get a yes or no answer.
Senator Warren, I just want to say that I was surprised to hear that you did not agree with me that on this subject of what should be the rules around corporate responsibility for these big tech companies, when I called on Twitter to suspend Donald Trump's account, that you did not agree, and I would urge you to join me.
Sometimes I think that Senator Warren is more focused on being punitive or pitting some part of the country against the other.
I'm really shocked at the notion that anyone thinks I'm punitive. Look, I don't have a beef with billionaires. We need a wealth tax in order to make investments in the next generation.
If it's not okay for a president's family to be involved in foreign businesses, why was it okay for your son when you were vice president?
Look, my son did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. Rudy Giuliani, the president, and his thugs have already proven that they, in fact, are flat lying.
What has happened in Syria is yet again Donald Trump selling folks out. And that's why do gotta go, and when I am commander-in-chief, we will stop this madness.
Donald Trump has the blood of the Kurds on his hand, but so do many of the politicians in our country from both parties who have supported this ongoing regime change war in Syria that started in 2011.
I think that is dead wrong. The slaughter going on in Syria is not a consequence of American presence. It's a consequence of a withdrawal and a betrayal. And when I was deployed, I knew one of the things keeping me safe was the fact that the flag on my shoulder represented a country known to keep its word.
Think about how absurd it is that this president is caging kids on the border and effectively letting ISIS prisoners run free.
We have ISIS. It's going to come here. They are going to, in fact, damage the United States of America. That's why we got involved in the first place.
Huge monopolies, protect small business, and protect consumers.
They don't know how this is going to affect their jobs.
This is a disease of capitalism run amok.
Have a 15-member court.
Police violence is also gun violence.
Women are the majority of the population in this country. People need to keep their hands off of women's bodies and let women make the decisions about their own lives.
Thank you, Senator.
How we're going to get it done. I'm going to say something that is probably going to offend some people here, but I'm the only one on the stage who's gotten anything really big done.
But you know where you also got done, and I say this as a good friend. You got the disastrous war in Iraq done. You got a bankruptcy bill which is hurting middle-class families all over this country. You got trade agreements like NAFTA and PNTR with China done, which have cost us 4 million jobs.
So you started this question with how you got something done. You know, following the financial crash of 2008, I had an idea for a consumer agency.
And I went on the floor and got you votes. I got votes for that bill. I convinced people to vote for it. So let's get those things straight, too.
Senator Warren, do you want to respond?
I am deeply grateful to President Obama, who fought so hard to make sure that agency was passed into law.
You did a hell of a job in your job.
Thank you. But understand.
Now to the issue of candidates and their health.
I'm feeling great, but I would like to respond to that question.
I want to start by saying.
And Senator Sanders is in favor of medical marijuana. I want to make sure that's clear as well.
Thank you.
Senator Sanders, this debate does mark this debate. No time to waste. Let's get right to it.
First of all, we have a criminal living in the White House.
The president felt free to break the law again and again and again, and that's what's happened with Ukraine.
By the way, I learned something about these impeachment trials. I learned, number one, that Donald Trump doesn't want me to be the nominee.
We cannot simply be consumed by Donald Trump. Because if we are, you know what? We're going to lose the election.
Black voters are pissed off, and they're worried. They're pissed off because the only time our issues seem to be really paid attention to by politicians is when people are looking for their vote.
At some point, folks get tired of just saying, oh, you know, thank me for showing up, and say, well, show up for me.
I care about this because while I do not have the experience of ever having been discriminated against because of the color of my skin, I do have the experience of sometimes feeling like a stranger in my own country, turning on the news and seeing my own rights come up for debate.
I come out of the black community in terms of my support. If you notice, I have more people supporting me in the black community that have announced for me because they know me. They know who I am. 3 former chairs of the Black Caucus, the only African-American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate, a whole range of people.
No,
my point is,
that's not true. The other one is here.
Come first. So my point is,
I have a lot of respect for the vice president. This week I hear him literally say that I don't think we should legalize marijuana. I thought you might have been high when you said it.
It's unfortunate that we have someone on the stage who spent 4 years full-time on Fox News criticizing President Obama.
What Senator Harris is doing is unfortunately continuing to traffic in lies and smears and innuendos.
I think that Pete is qualified to be up on this stage, and I am honored to be standing next to him. But what I said was true. Women are held to a higher standard. Otherwise, we could play a game called Name Your Favorite Woman President.
But I want to get back to Pete Buttigieg and his comment about experience.
I think experience should matter.
If your question is about experience, let's also talk about judgment.
We have to rethink the entire war on terror.
it's a state of emergency.
Abortion rights are human rights.
If you win the 2020 election, what would you say in your first call with Russian President Vladimir Putin?
First, I'd say, I'm sorry I beat your guy.
My first Senate race, I literally called everyone I knew, and I set what is still an all-time Senate record. I raised $17,000 from ex-boyfriends.
Kim Jong-un, who's a thug, although he points out that I'm a rabid dog, need to be beaten with a stick. But recently was his comment.
Other than that, you like him?
Other than that, I like him.
With this campaign video, former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg ends the speculation and announces his presidential run. jumping into the Democratic primary race.
The major news in the race for 2020, Senator Kamala Harris announcing she's dropping out. Once drawing huge crowds, one of the top candidates on the Democratic side. So what happened? What she said today in her very candid message to her supporters. ABC's Lindsay Davis on the campaign again tonight.
A campaign that started with so much promise brought to an abrupt end today, even before the first vote was cast.
It's both an honor and disappointment to be the lone candidate of color on the stage tonight. I miss Kamala, I miss Corey, though I think Corey will be back. And the question is, why am I the lone candidate of color on this stage? Fewer than 5% of Americans donate to political campaigns. You know what you need to donate to political campaigns? Disposable income.
Senator Sanders, you are the oldest candidate on stage this evening.
And I'm white as well.
I'm running because I've been around. On my experience.
Senator Warren, you would be the oldest president ever inaugurated. I'd like you to weigh in as well.
I'd also be the youngest woman ever inaugurated.
Senator Warren, 45 seconds to respond.
The mayor just recently had a fundraiser that was held in a wine cave full of crystals and served $900 a bottle wine.
According to Forbes magazine, I am literally the only person on this stage who's not a millionaire or a billionaire. So if this is important, this is the problem with issuing purity tests you cannot yourself pass.
I do not sell access to my time.
Senator, your presidential campaign right now, as we speak, is funded in part by money you transferred, having raised it at those exact same big-ticket fundraisers you now denounce. Did it?
We like to bring everyone in.
I did not come here to listen to this argument.
I want to turn now to an issue that's been in the headlines.
Climate change is an existential crisis.
We don't have to go to war, but we have to make it clear this is as far as you go, China.
This president is not against immigration. He's against immigration by non-white people.
Yes.
Now, there's a real competition going on up here. My good friend Joe, and he is a good friend, he's received contributions from 44 billionaires. Pete, on the other hand, is trailing Pete. You only got 39 billionaires contributing.
I have not denigrated your experience as a local official. I have been one. I just think you should respect our experience when you look at how you evaluate someone who can get things done.
Thank you, Senator.
If you just go by vote totals, maybe what goes on in my city seems small to you. If you want to talk about the capacity to win, try putting together a coalition to bring you back to office with 80% of the vote as a gay dude in Mike Pence's Indiana.
45 seconds for Vice President Biden.
Not interrupted here, all right? I'm going to interrupt now. It costs $30 trillion. Let's get that straight.
Under Joe's plan, essentially, we retain the status quo.
That's not true.
No,
it is exactly
right.
true. But thank you.
Making sure that we're able to cover everyone who is, in fact, able to be covered. Put your hand down for a second, Bernie, okay?
Just waving to you, Joe.
I know.
Tonight, in this enormously consequential 2020 election, the first state in the country has voted, and today marks the beginning of the end for Donald Trump.
An improbable hope became an undeniable reality. So we don't know all the results, but we know by the time it's all said and done, Iowa, you have shocked the nation.
Tomorrow, Donald Trump will make a speech about the State of the Union, but I have a message for every American. Our union is stronger than Donald Trump. You have made me a better candidate, and you will make me a better president. We don't know all the results tonight, but tonight has already shown that Americans have a deep hunger for big structural change to make our economy and our democracy work for everyone.
No, there's delay. one thing. We are punching above our weight. And my friends here in Iowa, you know we have beaten the odds every step of the way. We have done it on the merits, we have done it with ideas, and we have done it with hard work.
Indications are, from our indications, it's going to be close. We're going to walk out of here with our share of delegates. We don't know exactly what it is yet, but we feel good about where we are. And look, so it's on to New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina, and well beyond. We're in this for the long haul.
Let me take this opportunity to thank the people of New Hampshire for a great victory tonight. This victory here is the beginning of the end for Donald Trump.
While there is great work left to be done, you know I am the math guy, and it is clear tonight from the numbers that we are not going to win this race. I am not someone who wants to accept donations and support in a race that we will not win. And so tonight I am announcing I am suspending my campaign for president. I have been persuaded that the message of this campaign will not be strengthened by my staying in this race any longer. Endings are hard, New Hampshire, but this is not an ending. This is a beginning.
Here in a state that goes by the motto, live free or die, you made up your own minds. You asserted that famous independent streak. And thanks to you, a campaign that some said shouldn't be here at all has shown that we are here to stay. So many of you decided that a middle-class mayor and a veteran from the industrial Midwest was the right choice to take on this president, not in spite of that experience, but because of it.
Tonight is not going to be our night, but let me say this to New Hampshire. You may see me once again. So thank you. I feel nothing but joy tonight as we conclude this particular campaign and this particular chapter. I am going to do absolutely everything I can do as one human being to make sure that Donald Trump is a one-term president.
Hello, America. I'm Amy Klobuchar, and I will beat Donald Trump. Well, there are still ballots left to count. We have beaten the odds every step of the way. We have done it on the merits, we have done it with ideas, and we have done it with hard work. Because we are resilient and strong as the people of this great nation.
So the results are still coming in from across the state, but right now it is clear that Senator Sanders and Mayor Buttigieg had strong nights. And I also want to congratulate my friend and colleague, Amy Klobuchar, for showing just how wrong the pundits can be when they count a woman out. The question for us Democrats is whether it will be a long, bitter rehash of the same old divides in our party, or whether we can find another way. Senator Sanders and Mayor Buttigieg are both great people, and either one of them would be a far better president than Donald Trump. I respect them both.
So when you hear all these pundits and experts, cable TV talkers talked about the race, tell them, it ain't over, man. We're just getting started. Our votes count too. We're not going to let anyone take this election away from you. Look, I've said many times, you can't be the Democratic nominee and you can't win a general election as Democrat unless you have overwhelming support from black and brown voters. It's just really simple.
I think I'm doing fine. I think that we're going to come out of New Hampshire and come to Nevada, where, in fact, I've already come. And I think it's going to be a holy race. I really do. I think, things are going to change after New Hampshire. There's going to be a lot of changes. I'm not exactly sure how it's all going to fall out, but it's going to be a new race after tonight.
No matter what happens here tonight, I want you to know that we have already been victorious. We have already been victorious because of what we have built here together. And the fact that even though there have been efforts to smear us, to silence us, that as much as they have tried to erase us from this election, we stand strong.
Some breaking news right now from Zareen Shah at Andrew Yang's headquarters there in New Hampshire. He's dropping out.
His campaign just told us that he is dropping out tonight.
Big win. Senator Bernie Sanders taking the Nevada Democratic caucus by a landslide.
The candidate thanking supporters during a rally in Texas, now claiming victory in 3 states. With 50% of the precincts reporting Sanders has 47% of the vote in the Silver State. He's followed by Joe Biden at 19%, Pete Buttigieg at 15%, Elizabeth Warren at 10%, and Amy Klobuchar at 5%.
Good evening. We are coming on the air now with breaking news in the race for the White House. ABC News projects that Joe Biden will win today's Democratic primary in the state of South Carolina. It's his first win of the 2020 campaign after lagging behind in Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada, the first primary contest the former vice president has ever won.
In the race for the White House, a major development overnight. Top contender Pete Buttigieg dropping out after Tom Steyer also calls it quits, all in the wake of Joe Biden's landslide victory in South Carolina on Saturday.
Nate Silver, I know you can't make any kind of a formal change to your forecast right now. It's going to take a couple of days for that, or at least several hours. But is it fair to conclude or not that Joe Biden is the front runner now?
He is, and I think people have been talking about Michigan, the possibility for a comeback, but not every nomination lasts until the bitter end. Bernie Sanders lost all the kind of Democratic equivalent of swing states tonight, basically, right? There's already some polling in Michigan, and the polling was way off in Michigan last time, showing Sanders behind there. It may just be that voters do not want another very long and drawn-out nomination process, that Joe Biden, there is a big African-American vote in Michigan, so I want to be like a little contrarian to the contrarianist here and say maybe it will be actually kind of easy for Biden. Who knows? That's a possibility, too.
Yesterday's results, the delegate math had become virtually impossible, and a viable path to the nomination just no longer existed. And I will not be our party's nominee.
So I announced this morning that I am suspending my campaign for president. I say this with a deep sense of gratitude for every single person who got in this fight, every single person who tried on a new idea, every single person who just moved a little in their notion of what a president of the United States should look like. I will not be running for president in 2020, but I guarantee I will stay in the fight for the hardworking folks across this country who've gotten the short end of the stick over and over. That's been the fight of my life, and it will continue to be so.
Change the 2020 race. Hey, Matt.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. I tell you, one of the big states we continue to watch right now is Michigan, which the results are in that state going to Biden. Here's why that's really sort of a stunning decision. It's because Bernie Sanders actually won Michigan back in 2016. Now, that also proves that this race is still far from over. This morning, Washington and North Dakota remain too close to call. Part of the delay in Washington could be because ballots there can be dropped in the mail by 8 p.m., which is 11 p.m. our time, and then, of course, have to be processed. Of the 6 states that voted yesterday, Biden won 4 of them, which leaves Sanders in a pretty tough spot this morning. Now, that takes us to next week when 4 states will be voting, and that includes Florida, which packs a whopping 219 delegates. Closer to us, Illinois and Ohio will also be voting. And get this, back when Super Tuesday happened last week, the ballots as far as the delegate counts still not complete yet right now in California, Utah, or Colorado. So still some results could be changing as we speak.
Today, it looks like once again, in Florida and Illinois, we're still awaiting to hear from Arizona. Our campaign has had a very good night.
I wish I could give you better news, but I think you know the truth. And that is that we are now some 300 delegates behind Vice President Biden, and the path toward victory is virtually impossible. So while we are winning the ideological battle, and while we are winning the support of so many young people and working people throughout the country, I have concluded that this battle for the Democratic nomination will not be successful. And so today, I am announcing the suspension of my campaign. Please know that I do not make this decision lightly. In fact, it has been a very difficult and painful decision. Over the past few weeks, Jane and I, in consultation with top staff, and many of our prominent supporters have made an honest assessment of the prospects for victory. If I believed we had a feasible path to the nomination, I would certainly continue the campaign, but it's just not there. I know that there may be some in our movement who disagree with this decision, who would like us to fight on to the last ballot cast at the Democratic Convention. I understand that position, but as I see the crisis gripping the nation, exacerbated by a president unwilling or unable to provide any kind of credible leadership, and the work that needs to be done to protect people in this most desperate hour, I cannot in good conscience continue to mount a campaign that cannot win and which would interfere with the important work required of all of us in this difficult hour.
You know, I just had an opportunity to speak with the Floyd family, and a group of them, most of them. They're a close, decent, honorable family, loving one another. And once again, we had the words, heard the words, and they heard them. I can't breathe. An act of brutality so elemental, it did more than deny one more black man in America his civil rights and his human rights. It denied him of his very humanity. It denied him of his life. Depriving George Floyd is, as it deprived Eric Garner, one of the things every human being must be able to do. Breathe. So simple, so basic, so brutal. You know, with the same thing happened with Aubrey, the same thing happened with Breonna Taylor, the same thing with George Floyd. You know, we've spoken their names aloud. We cried them out in pain and in horror. We chiseled them into a long, suffering hearts. They're the latest additions to the endless list of stolen potential wiped out unnecessarily. You know, it's a list that dates back more than 400 years. Black men, black women, black children. The original sin of this country still stains our nation today, and sometimes we manage to overlook it. We just push forward with 1,000 other tasks in our daily life, but it's always there. In weeks like this, we see it plainly that we're a country with an open wound. And none of us can turn away. None of us can be silent. None of us can any longer can we hear the words, I can't breathe, and do nothing. You know, we can't fail victims like, you know, what Martin Luther King called the appalling silence of good people. Every day African Americans go about their lives with a constant anxiety and trauma, wondering who'll be next. Imagine if every time your husband or son, wife or daughter left the house, you feared for their safety from bad actors and bad police. Imagine if you had to have that talk with your child about not asserting your rights, taking the abuse handed out to them just so they could make it home. Imagine having police called on you just for sitting in Starbucks or renting an Airbnb or watching birds. You know, this is the norm black people in this country deal with. They don't have to imagine it. The anger and frustration and the exhaustion, it's undeniable. But that's not the promise of America. It's long past time that we made the promise of this nation real for all people. You know, this is no time for incendiary tweets. It's no time to encourage violence. This is a national crisis. We need real leadership right now. Leadership that will bring everyone to the table so we can take measures to root out systemic racism. It's time for us to take a hard look at the uncomfortable truths. It's time for us to face that deep, open wound we have in this nation. We need justice for George Floyd. We need real police reform that hold cops to a higher standard that so many of them actually meet, that holds bad cops accountable, that repairs relationship between law enforcement and the community they're sworn to protect. We need to stand up as a nation with the black community, with all minority communities, and come together as one America. That's the challenge we face. You know, it's going to require those of us who sit in some position of influence to finally deal with the abuse of power. The pain is too immense for one community to bear alone. I believe it's the duty of every American to grapple with it, and to grapple with it now. With our complacency, our silence, we are complicit in perpetuating these cycles of violence. Nothing about this will be easy or comfortable. But if we simply allow this wound to scab over once more, without treating the underlying injury, we'll never truly heal. The very soul of America is at stake. We must commit as a nation to pursue justice with every ounce of our being. We have to pursue it with real urgency. Got to make real the promise of America, which we've never fully grasped, that all men and women are equal, not only in creation, but throughout their lives. Again, to George's family, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I promise you, we do everything in our power to see to it that justice is had in your brother, your cousin's case. God love you all, and folks, we gotta stand up, we gotta move, we gotta change.
I want to express our nation's deepest condolences and most heartfelt sympathies to the family of George Floyd. Terrible event, terrible thing that happened. I've asked that the Department of Justice expedite the federal investigation into his death and do it immediately, do it as quickly as absolutely possible. It's a local situation, but we're also making it into a federal situation, and it's a terrible thing. We all saw what we saw, and it's very hard to even conceive of anything other than what we did see. It should never happen, should never be allowed to happen, a thing like that. But we're determined that justice be served, and I spoke to members of the family, terrific people, and we'll be reporting as time goes by. We think that we also have to make the statement that it's very important that we have peaceful protesters and support the rights for peaceful protesters. We can't allow a situation like happened in Minneapolis to descend further into lawless anarchy and chaos, and we understand that very well. It's very important, I believe, to the family, to everybody, that the memory of George Floyd be a perfect memory. Let it be a perfect memory. The looters should not be allowed to drown out the voices of so many peaceful protesters. They hurt so badly what is happening, and it's so bad for the state and for that great city. So we are working very closely with the Justice Department. We're working with local law enforcement. We're working with everybody, and we're speaking with the family. And hopefully everything can be fairly taken care of. I understand the hurt. I understand the pain. People have really been through a lot. The family of George is entitled to justice, and the people of Minnesota are entitled to live in safety. Law and order will prevail. The Americans will honor the memory of George and the Floyd family. It's very important to us. It's very important to me to see that everything is taken care of properly. It's a horrible, horrible situation. And so we'll be reporting back in due course and as quickly as possible.
Now, and I want to thank you.
Overnight, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris making the campaign's first joint fundraising appearance, following their official debut earlier as the 2020 Democratic presidential ticket.
Your next Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. We can never lose that. In times as challenging as these, I believe there's only one way forward. As a united America, united in our pursuit of a more perfect union, united in our dreams of a better future for us and for our children, united in our determination to make the coming years bright. Are you ready? I believe we are. This is a great nation. We're a good and decent people. For the Lord's sake, this is the United States of America. And there's never been anything we've been able to accomplish when we've done it together. The Irish poet Seamus Heaney once wrote, "History says, don't hope on this side of the grave, but then, once in a lifetime, the longed-for tidal wave of justice can rise up and hope and history rhyme." This is our moment to make hope and history rhyme. With passion and purpose, let us begin, you and I together, one nation, under God, united in our love for America, united in our love for each other. For love is more powerful than hate, hope is more powerful than fear, and light is more powerful than dark. This is our moment, this is our mission. May history be able to say that the end of this chapter of American darkness began here tonight, as love and hope and light join in the battle for the soul of the nation. And this is a battle we will win, and we'll do it together. I promise you. Thank you, and may God bless you, and may God protect our troops. Good night.
I kept my promise. Recent months, our nation and the world has been hit by the once-in-a-century pandemic that China allowed to spread around the globe. They could have stopped it, but they allowed it to come out. In a new term as president, we will again build the greatest economy in history, quickly returning to full employment, soaring incomes, and record prosperity. My fellow Americans, tonight, with a heart full of gratitude and boundless optimism, I profoundly accept this nomination for President of the United States. Joe Biden may claim he is an ally of the light, but when it comes to his agenda, Biden wants to keep us completely in the dark. For 47 years, Joe Biden took the donations of blue-collar workers, gave them hugs and even kisses. Biden is weak. He takes his marching orders from liberal hypocrites who drive their cities into the ground while fleeing far from the scene of the wreckage. The goal of cancel culture is to make decent Americans live in fear of being fired, expelled, shamed, humiliated, and driven from society as we know it. The far left wants to coerce you into saying what you know to be false and scare you out of saying what you know to be true. Americans build their future. We don't tear down our past. Biden is a Trojan horse for socialism. If Joe Biden doesn't have the strength to stand up to wild-eyed Marxists like Bernie Sanders and his fellow radicals, and there are many, we see them all the time, it's incredible actually, then how is he ever going to stand up for you? He's not. The fact is, I'm here. What's the name of that building? But I'll say it differently. The fact is, we're here and they're not. And we will make America greater than ever before. I am very, very proud to be the nominee of the Republican Party. I love you all. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now.
Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now.
Are you gonna pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question
You want to put a lot
is
of
the
new
question
Supreme Court
is
justices,
the
radical
question,
left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
Right, gentlemen, I think
this
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
We have
We're not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. All right, let's talk. We got a lot to unpack here, gentlemen. We got a lot of time. So, on health care, and then we'll come back to Roe v. Wade.
All right.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court will hear a case a week after the election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last...
Because they want to give good health care.
If I may ask my question, sir.
Good health care.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well,
I got rid of the individual mandate.
I'm going to give you an opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a big chunk of
Obamacare.
That is absolutely a big thing. That was the worst part of Obamacare.
Sir,
Chris, that was the worst part of Obama.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe. The individual mandate was the most unpopular aspect of Obamacare. I got rid of it.
I'd like
and we will protect people
President,
with
I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer.
Go ahead.
You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare, and just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump health care plan?
Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something, that there's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against Big Pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting health care. All of the things that we've done, insulin, I give you an example, insulin, it was destroying families, destroying people because I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water, you want to know the truth. So cheap. Take a look at all of the drugs what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because they pay just a tiny fraction.
As I say, this is open discussion.
No,
let
but
me ask
this is
you about,
big. This
you'll
is
be happy.
big stuff. Joe, you agreed with Bernie Sanders, who's far left, on the manifesto, we call it. And that gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey,
Are you saying
I'm not going to listen to him. The fact of the matter is, I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by much.
I beat him a whole hell of a lot. I'm here standing facing you, old buddy.
Pocahontas would have left 2 days early. You would have lost every primary.
All he knows how to
on
do
Super
is hurt.
Tuesday. You got very lucky.
Here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to make sure, because here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just want to make sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has, you pick the wrong guy, the wrong night at the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's
Bernie
the deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Let him.
There is no manifesto. Number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan.
Folks,
absolutely
folks, do you have any idea what this clown's doing?
They call it
Do you have any idea?
socialized medicine.
Mr.
Well, I
President.
tell you what, he is not for any help for people needing health care.
Talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available. Just like
He said
Dr.
it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also
I'm
be
talking about
after
when it's
that.
generally available. not when it
Well,
will
we're
be.
going to deliver it right away. We have the military all set up logistically. They're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be
This is
delivering
the
the
same man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the
That
same
was
man.
said sarcastically,
That was
you
him.
know that. That was said sarcastically.
And so here's the deal. This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out, if we get the vaccine. And pray God we will. So you take a look at what he's actually done. He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest trade deficit with Mexico.
China ate your lunch, down 18%. China ate your lunch, Joe, and no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. Takes out billions of dollars to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also, while we're at it, why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with Burisma to deserve $183,000?
None of that is true.
Let him answer.
None of that is true.
Oh, really? He didn't get $3.5 million?
Mr. President,
Mr.
President, please.
Totally discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
well, wait, he didn't get $3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
he got $3.5 million.
It is not.
Oh, really?
Mr. President, it's an open discussion, please.
It's a fact.
Well, you have raised an issue. Let the Vice President answer.
Discredited.
Did Burisma pay him $183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Mr. President,
my son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he did.
Mr. President, let him answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
By who?
And
the media?
By everybody. Well, by the media, by our allies, by the World Bank, by everyone has discredited. Matter of fact, even the people who testified under oath.
So let me ask you this, Joe.
No, go ahead, Mister. I'm listening to you.
People
he got $3.5 million from Moscow.
He testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I
really?
did it
I'd like to know
honorably.
who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list of the people who testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a good job.
Some people don't do a good job. With you,
go ahead. Wait a minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me. This.
Hey, let me just tell you.
No. I'm Mr. President.
$3.5 million, Joe.
That is simply.
Why did he deserve $3.5 million from Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics. I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's already...
My family lost a fortune by coming down and helping us with government.
And that's such a...
Mr. President.
Every single one of them lost
This is not about my family or his family. It's about your family. The American people. He doesn't... That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about.
All right, that's the end of the segment. We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice President, no.
Can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be honest.
No,
he stood up.
No, the answer to the question is no.
Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you
that
get rid
is
of
absolutely not true.
You're doing it.
You're going to have
true.
Gentlemen, button up this segment. I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You have repeatedly criticized.
I have to answer his statement.
No, you have repeatedly. No, you've been talking back and forth.
You made a statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love to end it.
Sir,
I would love to end it.
You know, if you want to switch seats.
We could very quickly.
We could do that, but
I'd send in the National Guard. It would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay,
but they don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the Vice President for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
are you
I'm
prepared
willing to do
specifically
that, but
do it? Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
You want to call him? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
white
name.
Supremacists and
who would you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud Boys. Stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing. This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got it.
Not militia. That's what his FBI his FBI director said.
Well, then you know what?
We're done, sir.
Everybody,
we're moving on to the next. We're moving.
When a bat hits you over the head, that's not an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is
administration
bad.
tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas.
Antifa is a dangerous,
All right,
radical
gentlemen,
group.
we're now moving on to the Trump and
you ought to be
Biden
careful with
records.
them. They'll overthrow you.
When a president, I'm going to ask a question.
But
No, Mr. President, I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750.
Millions of dollars, and you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see it. But let me just tell you, Chris, let me just tell you something, that it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build a building and we get tax credits, like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which, by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now, the man got fired right after that happened. But
Vice President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher on the money a school teacher makes, is because of him he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't president. Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator. And
You're
by
the
way,
worst
you were
president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just tell you, Joe. I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never even thought of doing, including fixing the broken military that you gave me, including taking care of your vets.
Mr. President, we're talking final
Senate
question.
and swamping the system. You know it can't be done. You know it can't. And already there's been fraud.
Mail service delivers
wait a minute, gentlemen. The final question is, in 8 states, we can keep talking. In 8 states, election workers are prohibited, currently by law, 8 states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and flatten them until Election Day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are not going to know on election night who the winner is, that it could be days, it could be weeks,
could be months,
until we find out who the new president is. So first for you, sir, finally for the Vice President, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest? And will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you go first.
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They're called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia, bad things. And I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair election, I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you what,
does that
from
mean,
a common sense,
does that mean you're going to tell your people to take to the street?
It means you have a fraudulent election. You're sending out 80 million ballots. They're not equipped to. These people aren't equipped to handle it. Number one. Number two, they cheat. They cheat. Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago, and they all had the name military ballots. They were military. They all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President
you think
Biden,
that's good?
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. We count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots, that somehow it's a fraudulent process.
It's already been established. Take a look at Carolyn Maloney's race.
I asked you had an opportunity to respond.
Carolyn
Go ahead.
They have no idea what
Vice President Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome. And I'll be a president not just for the Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans. And this guy,
I want to see an honest ballot cut.
Gentlemen, you say that's the end of it? This is the end of this debate?
Did you take a test on the day of the debate, I guess is the bottom line?
I probably did, and I took a test the day before and the day before, and I was always in great shape, and I was in great shape for the debate. As president, I can't be locked in a room someplace for the next year and just stay and do nothing. And every time I go into a crowd, I was with the parents of our fallen heroes. These people are the most incredible people. And they came up to me, and they would hug me, and they would touch me, and I'm not going to not let them do it.
When a president doesn't wear a mask or makes fun of folks like me when I was wearing a mask for a long time, then, people say, well, it mustn't be that important.
After contracting COVID-19 yourself, has your opinion changed on the importance of mask wearing?
No, because I was okay with the masks. I was good with it, but I've heard many different stories on masks.
If you listen to the head of the CDC, he stood up and he said, while we're waiting for a vaccine, and he held up a mask. You wear this mask, you'll save more lives between now and the end of the year than if we had a vaccine.
I knew it was a big threat. At the same time, I don't want to panic this country. I don't want to go out and say, everybody's going to die,
Isn't there a middle ground? You don't have to mislead, but you can...
No, there's not a middle ground. You have to be safe, you have to be vigilant, and you have to be smart.
Besides, you ain't black. What do you have to say to young black voters who see voting for you as further participation in a system that continually fails to protect them?
Well, I say, first of all, as my buddy John Lewis said, it's a sacred opportunity right to vote. You can make a difference. If young black women and men vote, you can determine the outcome of this election. Not a joke. You can do that.
Mr. President, what will you and your administration do to better prepare our law enforcement officers to work in collaboration with the communities that they serve, and also to protect the lives of innocent Black and Latinos from police brutality and injustice?
Right. I fully understand the question, and I saw everything that you saw over the summer, and it was a terrible thing to watch. And some people don't like it when I say it, but a lot of people agree. I have done more for the African-American community than any president, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln.
You said you don't want to ban fracking. As you know, it's an important issue here in Pennsylvania. Not everyone buys your denial. A member of the Boilermakers Local 154, Sean Steffney, was quoted in the New York Times today saying, you can't have it both ways. It says you can't meet your goal to end fossil fuels without ending fracking. What do you say to people like Sean who doubt your denial because they think you want to keep that promise?
Tell them the Boilermakers overwhelmingly endorse me, okay? What I would do is I would stop giving tax breaks and subsidizing oil. We don't need to subsidize oil any longer, number one. We should stop that and save billions of dollars over time. What I would also do with regard to, the difference between me and the new Green Deal, they say automatically by 2030, we're going to be carbon free. Not possible.
So are you for it or against it? You say you're not for it, but in your website it says you call it a crucial framework.
My deal is a crucial framework.
I'm sure they'll ask you the white supremacy question. I denounce white supremacy. Okay. And frankly, you want to know something? I denounce Antifa, and I denounce these people on the left that are burning down our cities that are run by Democrats who don't know what they're doing.
While we're denouncing, let me ask you about QAnon.
I just don't know about QAnon.
You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know. What I do hear about it is they are very strongly against pedophilia. And I agree with that. I mean, I do agree with that, and I agree with it.
But there's not a satanic pedophile cult being run by.
I know nothing about that.
You don't know that? Okay.
No, I don't know that. Neither do you know that.
Okay, just this week, you retweeted to your 87 million followers a conspiracy theory that Joe Biden orchestrated to have SEAL Team 6, the Navy SEAL Team 6, killed to cover up the fake death of bin Laden. Now, why would you send a lie like that to your followers? You retweeted
That was a retweet. That was an opinion of somebody, and that was a retweet. I'll put it out there. People can decide for themselves. I don't take a position.
You're not like someone's crazy uncle. Your own FBI director says there is no evidence of widespread fraud.
Well, then he's not doing a very good job.
If I'm elected president, you will not hear me race baiting. You'll not hear me dividing. You'll hear me trying to unify. And unify bring people together. When I said I was running because I wanted to unify the country, people said, well, they were the old days. We better be able to do it again. We better be able to do it again.
Mr. Vice President, if you lose, what will that say to you about where America is today?
Well, it could say that I'm a lousy candidate and I didn't do a good job. But I think, I hope that it doesn't say that we are as racially, ethnically, and religiously at odds with one another as it appears.
We have a vaccine that's coming. It's ready. It's going to be announced within weeks, and it's going to be delivered. We have Operation Warp Speed, which is the military is going to distribute the vaccine. I was in the hospital. I had it, and I got better, and now they say I'm immune. Whether it's 4 months or a lifetime, nobody's been able to say that.
What I would do is make sure we have everyone encouraged to wear a mask all the time. I would make sure we move in the direction of rapid testing, investing in rapid testing. I would make sure that we set up national standards as to how to open up schools and open up businesses so they can be safe. He says that we're learning to live with it. People are learning to die with it. You folks home will have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. What I would say is I'm going to shut down the virus, not the country. It's his ineptitude that caused the country to have to shut down in large part.
We have the best testing in the world by far. That's why we have so many cases. You know, someday you're going to have to explain, why did you get 3.5? I never got any money from Russia. I don't get money from Russia.
The foreign countries are paying you a lot. Russia's paying you a lot. China's paying you a lot. And your hotels and all your businesses all around the country, all around the world.
I get treated worse than the Tea Party got treated. Because I have a lot of people in there, deep down in the IRS, they treat me horribly.
Just show us. Stop playing around. You've been saying for 4 years you're going to reduce your taxes. His buddy, Rudy Giuliani, he's being used as a Russian pawn. He's being fed information that is Russian, that is not true. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China. I have not had the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China. And what's he do? He embraces guys like the thugs like in North Korea and the Chinese president and Putin and others, and he pokes his finger in the eye of all of our friends, all of our allies.
I just gave $28 billion to our farmers.
Taxpayers' money.
It's what?
Taxpayers' money. Didn't come from China.
You know the taxpayer is, it's called China. Eliminate Obamacare, come up with a brand new, beautiful health care. The Democrats will do it because there'll be tremendous pressure on them, and we might even have the House by that time. And I think we're going to win the House, okay? You'll see, but I think we're going to win the House.
Oh, he's never come up with a plan. I guess we're going to get the pre-existing condition plan the same time we get the infrastructure plan. And the Biden care proposal will, in fact, provide for that affordable health care, lower premiums. What we're going to do is going to cost some money. It's going to cost over $750 billion over 10 years to do it. And they're going to have lower premiums. You can buy into the better plans, the cheaper plans, lower your premiums, deal with unexpected billing, and have your drug prices drop significantly. Being the president, I think health care is not a privilege, it's a right. Everyone should have the right to have affordable health care. These 500-plus kids came with parents. They separated them at the border to make it a disincentive to come to begin with. This is the first president in the history of the United States of America that anybody seeking asylum has to do it in another country. That's never happened before in America.
We have to send ICE out and Border Patrol out to find them. We would say, come back in 2 years, 3 years, we're going to give you a court case. Yeah. They never come back. Only the really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ.
The fact of the matter is, there is institutional racism in America. And we have always said We've never lived up to it. That we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. But guess what? We have never, ever lived up to it, but we've always constantly been moving the needle further and further to inclusion.
You keep talking about all these things you're going to do, and you're going to do this, but you were there just a short time ago, and you guys did nothing.
We did.
You know, Joe, I ran because of you. I ran because of Barack Obama. I am the least racist person. I can't even see the audience because it's so dark, but I don't care who's in the audience. I'm the least racist person in this room.
To the oil industry, I'd stop giving them federal subsidies. He won't give federal subsidies to the gas, to solar and wind.
Yeah.
Why are we giving it to oil industry?
We actually do give it to solar and wind. Success is going to bring us together.
I represent all of you, whether you voted for me or against me.